YouTube, it's Kathy, and this is my weekly entertainment wrap-up for April 23rd through 29th. This week I read 3 books, I watched 3 shows, I watched 1 movie, and I listened to 1 book. Quick travel update. We are now in Bucharest, which is the capital of Romania. We're going to be here for about a week, and then we're actually spending the rest of this month basically in Romania. Also, my voice is going to probably sound a little rough in this video, and I apologize for that, but we are sick again, and there's nothing I can do about that at this time. The first book that I read this week is Defenestrate. I picked this up while we were in Prague because we had recently been talking about the defenestrations of Prague and then saw this in a bookstore, kind of giggled to ourselves, and I looked at the synopsis and went, yeah, this is actually something I would read. This is a book about twins, and our protagonist is the sister in this brother-sister duo. This book kind of jumps around in the timeline a lot, but we learn that they grew up with this curse on their family because many generations ago, a great-great-grandfather pushed somebody out of a window in Prague, and then the family had to leave quite abruptly, and that's why the family ended up living in America. And they've got this curse on the family where people just tend to fall a lot. So as they were growing up, their mother was very over-concerned with the fact that they might fall at some point, and that can take many different turns. This also talked about different falls throughout history and how people have managed to survive falls from ridiculous heights that you wouldn't think they would survive. We also come to realize that her brother has also recently fallen, and she's wondering whether or not it was an intentional fall or if it was just an accident like he says. The twins also spent some time in Prague after college and after a traumatic event that happened in their family, so it's interesting to see their shenanigans around Prague while I was in Prague or just after I had left Prague. This one definitely takes the theme of falling to heart. It's crammed into basically every little vignette that we see, and it's one of those books where I feel like maybe I've missed something, maybe it jumped around so much that I missed little details that made this something really impactful to me. This definitely has to do with being queer and mental health and all of those types of things, so I definitely would pick it up for those themes, but you're maybe going to get a little bit more out of it if you also recently went to Prague. The next book I picked up is a book that just released this week, and that is Just As You Are. This is a contemporary romance between this woman who works at a magazine that is queer-owned, queer-run, started by a woman of color, and it's going to be shutting down soon. And then she has this inexplicable attraction to this woman who is now her boss. This one had a lot of discussions of gender and presentation and feeling weird if you don't fit into strictly masc or femme presentation and if you switch between the two of them. And I really enjoyed seeing that represented in literature. I don't think it's something I've really seen all that often. Additionally, there were tons of side characters in this, and I really cared what was happening to them, with the exception of the ones that I didn't like because they were bad people and I wanted bad things for them. I did see ahead of time how a couple of the complications were going to come up, but that didn't dull my enjoyment for this. I actually really ended up loving this one. Then on the overnight train from Budapest to Bucharest, I started and finished Flamer. This is a young adult graphic novel about this boy who is at Scouts camp the summer before he's going to high school, and he has some problems in his life. He really loves going to this summer camp because his parents fight a lot. He doesn't really like to be around for that, but he's also making some realizations about himself and being heavily bullied while he's there, and that takes quite a toll on his mental health. There are definitely trigger warnings for this one, so look into it. This one had me sobbing on the train, but ultimately this is an absolutely beautiful piece of literature, and to all the people that have banned this book in the various places it's been banned recently, you should feel absolutely ashamed of yourselves. I also really enjoyed that the art stuck to the palette of black and white and then of occasional flame colors. That was really impactful. There's just such a place in my heart for characters who are this young and just so many things are against them, and them having to overcome all of that fear and anxiety and bullying and all of that type of stuff. So I really highly suggest reading this one. On to what I watched this week. I know we watched some episodes of Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, but I honestly couldn't tell you which ones. This is just such an easy show to throw on and just let it play, and sometimes it's funny and sometimes we're like, dude, why are you doing that, or why are you saying that? So it's a little bit of a mixed bag, but it's easy to view and the episodes are really short. This week we also watched all 10 episodes of Beef. This was a TV show I knew nothing about going into. I just knew it was a new show on on Netflix and we needed something to watch. We wanted to watch something that didn't have a gajillion episodes already out there. So when we turned it on, I was very, very pleasantly surprised by the cast. This was a fantastic cast. If you don't know anything about it and you're also trying not to get too far into what it is before going into it, this is about two people that indeed have a beef. Essentially, one of them honks at the other in a parking lot. This pisses the other one off. Neither one of them back down from this situation, and it escalates throughout every single episode of the show to ridiculous proportions. I really enjoyed this one because the cast was amazing. It was hysterically funny in points, and then other points you're just going, why would you do that? Like, I can't understand how it got here, and yet at the same point you can understand how certain things happened and how certain things look worse than they were, even though there was going to be no way to backtrack from certain actions taken. This show is absolutely ridiculous, and I want to see if there's going to be more of it, because I think it left it open for maybe more at the end. I have no idea what a second season would look like, mind you, but I kind of want to know what happens after the point where we've left these characters. Last night we also watched the first 3 episodes of Wednesday, which I've been meaning to watch for ages, and now we are finally getting around to it. I really think this show is clever. I enjoy taking this very classic character, putting her in this setting that is very much kind of her aesthetic, but having her have to interact with all of these other different characters and then also be given this mystery, which I love that it's enough to keep her in her place, because originally she just wanted to break out of this boarding school and now she kind of feels like she has to stay so she can figure out what's going on. There's also this inclusion of a power that I don't think we saw at all in the previous comics or the movies or the TV show or any of that type of thing, and I like the inclusion of it in this because it really drives the plot into trying to figure out what this mystery is and how it's going to unfold. Additionally, I just really love this character, and I love all of the different types of characters that she's meeting, and I just really want to see how this season goes. While we were in Budapest, we wanted to watch something set in Budapest, so we watched a movie called Budapest Heist. This is a Hungarian movie, so it is in Hungarian, so if you don't speak that language, you will in fact need subtitles and or dubbing. Actually, no, it's just subtitles. There is no dubbing, it's just in Hungarian. This is about a group of school-aged friends who got into some trouble at the time, and then we see them grown up and they want to basically reconnect and do another heist. They tried to do a heist when they were kids. It went badly, especially for one of them, and now that they're grown up, our main character is kind of being strong-armed into doing this other heist because of things that happen. It was kind of fun. There wasn't a whole lot of us going, holy crap, that's a place we've been. Most of that was done in transitional shots. But it was still kind of fun to watch. I will not say this was a perfect movie. There were definitely characters that were, shall we say, problematic. But at the same time, I'm glad that we watched a Hungarian movie while we were in Hungary. The book I listened to this week is Uncertain Kin. This is a collection of short stories about women and girls in the Bahamas, or women and girls who have recently moved from the Bahamas in the case of one of the stories. Because this is a collection of stories, I don't feel like there's a lot that I can really say plot-wise because there were so many different plots. And this is written in such a way where the writing was really, really good and really captivating, and I wanted to know what was going to happen. But there were also points where I would get to the end of a story and I wouldn't exactly know what the point of it was. And I don't know a better way of saying that, because obviously you don't have to have a point to a story, but I kind of always feel like at the end of a novel, I've kind of got this sense of what this novel was all about and I kind of understand it, whereas when I would get to the end of some stories, not so much. That's probably a me thing. I don't read a lot of short stories. In fact, the way I feel about short stories is kind of the same way I feel about poetry. I feel like they are too smart for me and I'm always missing something. That's how I pretty much always feel about these two mediums. Regardless, what I was able to glean from these stories with my tiny little brain, I very much enjoyed. There were different explorations about societal norms and how people feel about different things and different societal pressure that's put on women and girls, and all of that was really interesting to see. There were definitely characters that I was just like, could you just stop being the worst? That would be nice. Like, why is it your business if this person is doing this thing? And that happened a lot. So yeah, if you're looking to pick up a book mostly set in the Bahamas, I would definitely suggest this one. That's it for this week. Look out for a very special video tomorrow because something is being announced tomorrow. You can probably figure out what it is if you're not new to this channel, but if you're new to this channel, cool announcement coming tomorrow. If you've read, watched, or listened to any of these, let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down in the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. If you don't feel like leaving leaving a comment but want to make sure that I know you were here, just leave me an emoji or a smiley face if you happen to be on your keyboard. Some people have asked if there's a way to financially support this channel, so I set up a Ko-fi account, which is a digital tipping service. The link for that, as always, is down below. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.